Have you ever wondered why some people leave you glowing, and others leave you empty, as if they quietly unplugged you from your own life? A woman walks out of a room. The conversation she just had was polite. Smiles were exchanged, jokes were made. No one shouted. No one slammed a door. Yet her shoulders feel heavy, her chest is tight, and her thoughts are spinning in circles. She opens her phone, scrolls, distracts herself, and still feels strangely hollow. Nothing happened, the mind says. But her soul is already whispering, something was wrong. Every woman knows this feeling, even if she has never given it words. Around some people she expands. Her laughter is louder. Her eyes brighter. Time passes quickly and gently. Around others, she shrinks. Her voice becomes smaller. She leaves more tired than when she came. The soul notices the truth long before the mind is ready to admit it. There is an old wisdom inside every person, older than language, older than manners. Jung called this deep layer the unconscious. Some call it the soul. It speaks in body signals. In tight jaws and uneasy stomachs. In the way her heart races when someone smiles with their mouth but not with their eyes. Children feel it clearly. Animals feel it clearly. Adults learn to ignore it to keep the peace. She was trained to ignore it. As a girl, she might have learned that being nice was more important than feeling safe. That keeping others comfortable mattered more than listening to her own strange, quiet alarms. So she stayed in rooms that drained her. She laughed at jokes that hurt. She carried the emotional weight for people who refused to carry it themselves. Over time, the body kept score. Her soul kept speaking, even when her voice did not. In the language of psychology, people who leave her drained are often not holding their own inner world. They pour their fears, frustrations, and insecurities onto others like water spilling out of a broken cup. Some do it on purpose. Some do it unconsciously. Either way, someone else ends up being the container. She ends up being the container. She listens and listens while the other person talks only about themselves. She soothes their ego, calms their anger, answers their endless need for attention. When they leave, they feel lighter. And she feels like a phone battery stuck at 1%. Her soul knows, an invisible bill has been handed to her. Attraction to this kind of draining bond is rarely an accident. Often it is an echo. Many women were taught to become the emotional airbag of their family. She learned to read every mood in the room like weather. She noticed the shift in someone's footsteps, in the way a door was closed. Her nervous system became a radar, always scanning for danger, always ready to soften herself to protect everyone else. That little girl grows up and finds herself pulled to the same kind of people, those who need saving, fixing, smoothing. They feel familiar. Her body calls it chemistry, but sometimes it is just her trauma recognizing a pattern. She mistakes intensity for intimacy. The roller coaster of emotional storms feels like passion. The constant drama feels like love. The exhaustion feels like duty. Her soul, quieter but wiser, keeps saying, "This is not love. This is labor." Jung spoke of the shadow, all the parts of the self that are disowned, rejected, pushed underground. A woman taught never to be angry will bury her anger. A woman taught never to be needy will bury her needs. A woman taught always to be good will bury her raw, selfish wants. But buried parts do not vanish. They move into the shadows and live there, waiting. And then, something strange happens. She begins to meet them in other people. She meets the friend who is loudly selfish, who takes and never gives back. She meets the lover who explodes in anger, the boss who dominates every space, the partner who always plays the victim. What she refuses to see in herself, she keeps finding in others. This is projection, seeing one's own hidden pieces reflected in someone else. Being around these people is draining not only because of their behavior, but because she is standing in front of a living mirror, facing a part of her she never allowed herself to be. She holds her anger and theirs, her needs and theirs, her fear and theirs. No wonder she stumbles out of the room exhausted. Yet within this exhaustion there is a doorway. Shadow work is the quiet act of turning toward what she has exiled in herself. When a relationship leaves her feeling small and tired, the soul is not just saying, "Get away." It is also asking, what inside you is being denied here? What truth are you swallowing to keep this bond alive? Maybe she is overgiving because a hidden part craves to feel superior, to be the savior. The ego loves this role. It wears a mask of selflessness while secretly feeding on the feeling of being needed. After all, if she is the healer, the wise one, the strong one, then she never has to look at her own brokenness. And yet, even with this mask, she still returns home empty. The ego wants approval. It wants applause. It wants to belong at almost any cost. It will say yes when the soul aches for no. It will stay when the nervous system screams to leave. It will hand out her energy to anyone who offers a scrap of validation in return. But her deeper self, the self Jung spoke of, wants something else. It wants wholeness. It wants truth over performance. It wants quiet, steady, real connections where she can be both strong and soft, both giving and needing, both wise and confused. When her soul feels drained around someone, it is because her truth and her performance are at war. Stoic wisdom whispers here as well. It says, other people's behavior is beyond her control. Her power lives in how she responds, what she allows, where she places her time, her presence, her heart. A river can roar, but a rock does not have to follow its path. Feeling drained is not a moral judgment on the other person. The soul is not screaming, "They are bad." The soul is simply saying, "This is not aligned. This is too costly. This is not where your life force belongs." Individuation, the journey of becoming who she truly is, often begins with these small moments of noticing. She walks out of a room and, instead of blaming herself for being too sensitive, she becomes curious. She tastes the fatigue like a message rather than a flaw. Each moment of depletion is feedback. A mirror showing where she has abandoned herself to be liked, chosen, praised, or simply not rejected. To anyone listening now, there is a quiet invitation here. Notice the people after whom you feel smaller, confused, guilty for no clear reason. Notice the ones after whom you breathe easier, stand taller, laugh without effort. The mind makes stories. She had a hard day. He didn't mean it. They're going through something. All may be true, and still, your body's truth is truer for you. The soul speaks in how you feel when the door closes behind them. Sometimes that dizzy, charged feeling that gets called chemistry is not attraction from the highest self, but recognition from the wounded self. A part of you might be saying, "Ah, this feels like home," because home once felt like walking on eggshells, overfunctioning, or disappearing so that others could shine. There is another kind of connection available, a calm chemistry, a gentle warmth. The kind where she leaves feeling more like herself, not less. Biology joins the conversation too. When she sits with someone who is unsafe for her spirit, even if no threat is visible, her body can flood with stress hormones. Her heart rate changes. Muscles tense. Breathing shallows. It is as if the nervous system whispers. Prepare. Perform. Protect. Over time, this constant inner battle becomes exhaustion. In safe company, the opposite happens. Shoulders drop. Jaws unclench. The mind stops rehearsing. The body knows the difference between a battlefield and a garden. Feeling drained is not weakness. It is information. She is not too much for noticing energy. She is not dramatic for feeling empty after someone who takes and never gives. She is sensitive, and sensitivity, without shame, is simply the gift of a finely tuned instrument. With boundaries, this gift becomes power. So she begins her quiet revolution. She turns inward instead of always turning outward. She gently sits with her own loneliness, anger, jealousy, and fear, instead of seeking people who will act them out for her. She stops needing constant distraction from her own company. The more she can hold herself, the less pulled she feels toward those who feed on her light. She learns to say no without writing a long apology. She learns to leave messages unanswered when her body already said no the second the name lit up her phone. She learns that she does not owe everyone access to her nervous system, her time, or her attention. Her worth stops hanging on whether certain people choose her. Her worth settles back into her own bones. Next time you step out of a training room, instead of attacking yourself for being tired, pause. Ask silently, what part of me did I betray in there? What boundary did I cross against myself? What truth did I swallow? This is shadow work in its simplest form, seeing where you abandoned yourself, and choosing, next time, not to. As this inner work deepens, the hooks of draining people lose their grip. They may complain. They may accuse. They may call her cold, selfish, distant. Stoic wisdom reminds her, their opinion lives in their mind, not in her soul. What is hers to govern is her character, her choices, her energy. She will not need a dramatic ending to every story. No big speech. No last battle. Some connections will simply fade. Some will transform when she stops overgiving. Some will end the first time she says, "That doesn't work for me." Her no becomes sacred. Her yes becomes precious. She forgives, not always to reconcile, but to release her own heart from carrying extra weight. She blesses from afar and chooses closeness only where her spirit can breathe. There will always be people who brighten a room and people who darken it. There will always be souls who come to heal and souls who come to test. She cannot control who appears, but she can choose who stays. The woman who once thought her job was to keep everyone comfortable now remembers that her life force is not a public resource. It is a sacred flame. She listens when her soul whispers, "This person drains you." She does not argue. She does not explain it away. She trusts the knowing, because it has always been there, waiting for her to believe it. In that trust, she rises. No longer a battery to be used, she becomes the source, steady and radiant, knowing at last, her energy is hers. Her worth is non-negotiable. Her soul already knows why. And now, finally, her choices agree.